The vast control room of NASA's Deep Space Network complex in Goldstone, California hummed with activity. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, lead astrophysicist, leaned forward in her chair, eyes fixed on the oscillating waveform on her monitor. Her heart raced as she double-checked the readings. "This can't be right," she muttered, adjusting her glasses. "Hey, Mike, come take a look at this." Dr. Michael Chen, her colleague, rolled his chair over. "What's up, Elena?" "I think we've got something, and I mean something big." As Mike peered at the screen, his eyes widened. "Holy, is that what I think it is?" Elena nodded, a mix of excitement and trepidation in her voice. "It's a signal. Non-random, non-terrestrial, and definitely not one of ours." The implications were staggering. After decades of searching, they had finally detected signs of intelligent extraterrestrial life. Within hours, the news spread through secure channels, reaching the highest levels of government and scientific institutions worldwide. 3 months later, humanity collectively held its breath as the first diplomatic meeting with the alien civilization, known as the Zarkon Empire, took place on neutral ground, the International Space Station. Captain Amelia Foster stood at attention, her crisp blue uniform a stark contrast to the metallic interior of the ISS. As Earth's chosen representative, she watched the airlock with a mixture of anticipation and caution. The hiss of pressurization filled the air, and the door slowly opened. 2 beings stepped through, their appearances both familiar and alien. Humanoid in shape, the Zarkon stood nearly 7 feet tall, with iridescent scales covering their bodies and large, multifaceted eyes that seemed to take in everything at once. "Greetings," Amelia said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "On behalf of humanity, welcome to our humble station." The taller of the 2 Zarkon inclined its head. "I am Xanthor, emissary of the glorious Zarkon Empire. We have long observed your species and deemed this an appropriate time for formal contact." As the meeting progressed, it became clear that the Zarkon's intentions were far from benevolent. They spoke of humanity's potential, but always in the context of how it could serve the Empire. "Your species has shown remarkable progress," Xanthor said, his tone a mixture of condescension and interest. "The Empire believes you would make a valuable addition to our dominion." Amelia's diplomatic smile faltered. "I'm sorry, but I don't quite understand. Are you proposing some kind of alliance?" Xanthor's multifaceted eyes glimmered. "Not an alliance, Captain Foster. We are offering you the privilege of submission to the Zarkon Empire. Your planet and its resources would fall under our protection and guidance." The words hung in the air like a toxic cloud. Amelia's mind raced, searching for a diplomatic response to this thinly veiled threat. "I appreciate your offer, emissary Xanthor. However, humanity values its independence. We would be open to discussions about peaceful coexistence and cultural exchange, but submission is not an option we can consider." The Zarkon emissary's scales rippled, a sign Amelia interpreted as displeasure. "You misunderstand, Captain. This is not a negotiation. The Empire has decreed that Earth will join our dominion. Resistance would be unfortunate." As the meeting concluded, tensions were palpable. Amelia's report to Earth's united government was met with a mix of outrage and fear. Emergency sessions were called, military forces were put on high alert, and scientists worked around the clock to understand and potentially counter Zarkon technology. Weeks passed, and the situation escalated. Zarkon ships appeared in Earth's orbit, their massive forms casting shadows over major cities. Global panic ensued, with riots breaking out and doomsday preppers declaring vindication. In a secure bunker beneath Washington, D.C., world leaders gathered to discuss humanity's options. The room was thick with tension as military generals, scientists, and politicians debated strategies. "We can't possibly win a direct confrontation," General Lay argued, pointing to holographic projections of the Zarkon fleet. "Their technology is centuries ahead of ours." "But we can't just roll over and submit either," countered Dr. Rodriguez, who had been called in as a scientific advisor. There must be another way. As heated discussions continued, a young diplomat named Aydin Khoury cleared his throat. All eyes turned to him. What if we challenge them on their own terms? Explain, demanded the US president. Aydin stood, his voice growing stronger as he spoke. From what we've gathered, the Zarkon have a strict code of honor. They value individual prowess and seem to respect challenges. What if we propose a contest? One champion from Earth against one of theirs, winner takes all. The room erupted in a mixture of scoffs and intrigued murmurs. It's insane, General Lee protested. We can't gamble the fate of our entire planet on a single contest. Can we gamble it on a war we know we'll lose? Aydin countered. At least this way we have a chance, however slim it might be. As discussions raged on, the idea began to gain traction. It was a long shot, but faced with the alternative of certain defeat or submission, it started to look like humanity's best option. Finally, after hours of debate, a decision was reached. Earth would challenge the Zarkon Empire to a duel, a contest of skill and strategy with the highest possible stakes. As news of the decision spread, reactions varied wildly. Some hailed it as a brilliant move, humanity's one shot at maintaining independence. Others decried it as foolish, a desperate gamble that would doom them all. But as the challenge was formally issued to the Zarkon, a spark of hope ignited in the hearts of humans worldwide. Against all odds, they had a chance, slim as it might be, to determine their own destiny. The Zarkon's response came swiftly. Emperor Zornthar himself, speaking through a global broadcast, accepted the challenge with a mixture of amusement and disdain. We accept your quaint proposal, the Emperor's voice boomed across every screen on Earth. Though it amuses us that you believe you stand a chance. Know this, humans, when you lose, your submission will be absolute. Your champion will face the finest warrior the Empire has produced in a millennium. Prepare yourselves for a new era under Zarkon rule. As the transmission ended, a heavy silence fell over the planet. The challenge was set, the stakes clear. Now, humanity faced its greatest task yet, choosing a champion capable of facing an advanced alien warrior, with the fate of Earth hanging in the balance. The search for Earth's champion had begun, and with it, a new chapter in human history was about to unfold. Continue. Certainly. I'll continue with part 2 of the story. Part 2, the challenge. The announcement of the high-stakes duel sent shockwaves through human society. As the reality of the situation sank in, a mixture of fear, excitement, and determination swept across the globe. The challenge had been issued and accepted. Now came the daunting task of selecting Earth's champion and determining the nature of the contest. In the same underground bunker, where the decision had been made, world leaders reconvened. The air was thick with tension as they debated the crucial details of humanity's gambit. We need to choose the battlefield, General Lee asserted, her voice firm. Something that plays to our strengths. Dr. Rodriguez nodded in agreement. But what are our strengths against an advanced alien species? We need to think outside the box. As discussions continued, Aydin Khoury, the young diplomat who had proposed the challenge, spoke up again. What about marksmanship? Throughout human history, we've excelled at projectile weapons. It's a skill that requires precision, calm under pressure, and adaptability, all quintessentially human traits. The room fell silent as they considered the suggestion. It was President Okoro of Nigeria who broke the silence. It's an intriguing idea, a test of accuracy and nerve. But how do we ensure the Zarkon agree to these terms? We frame it as a test of evolutionary adaptations, Dr. Rodriguez suggested, her eyes lighting up. We challenge them to prove the superiority of their sensory and motor skills. Their pride won't let them refuse. As the details were hammered out, a delegation was prepared to present the terms to the Zarkon. Captain Amelia Foster, who had led the initial diplomatic meeting, was chosen to head this crucial mission. Aboard the International Space Station once more, Amelia faced Xanthor, the Zarkon emissary. Her heart pounded, but her voice remained steady as she outlined the proposed contest. A test of precision and control, she explained. Each side will choose a champion. These champions will use projectile weapons to hit a series of increasingly difficult targets. The one who achieves the highest accuracy and the most challenging conditions will be declared the winner. Xanthor's multifaceted eyes glimmered with what Amelia interpreted as amusement. "You believe this primitive skill will save your species?" he asked, his tone dripping with condescension. Amelia stood her ground. "We believe it will showcase the finest qualities of our respective species, unless, of course, the mighty Zarkon Empire fears a simple test of accuracy." The calculated jab hit its mark. Xanthor's scales rippled with indignation. "The Empire fears nothing, least of all a contest with primitives. We accept your terms. Prepare your champion, human. They will face the finest shot in the galaxy." As Amelia returned to Earth with news of the Zarkon's acceptance, preparations kicked into high gear. A global search for Earth's champion began, with marksmen and women from every corner of the planet undergoing rigorous testing. Meanwhile, weapons developers worked around the clock to create the most advanced rifle humanity could produce. Drawing on cutting-edge materials science, computer-assisted aiming, and advanced ballistics, they sought to give their champion every possible advantage. As the search for a champion narrowed, one name rose to the top: Major Sarah Chen, a decorated Special Forces sniper with an unparalleled record for long-distance accuracy. In a secure facility in the Rocky Mountains, Sarah underwent a battery of tests that pushed her skills to the limit. She fired at holographic targets that flickered in and out of existence, made shots that curved around obstacles, and maintained pinpoint accuracy in simulated extreme weather conditions. After a particularly grueling session, Sarah sat down with the project leaders, sweat still beading on her forehead. "Major Chen," General Li began, "your performance has been exceptional. But I need to know, are you prepared for what this mission entails? The fate of our entire species will rest on your shoulders." Sarah met the general's gaze unflinchingly. "With all due respect, ma'am, every time I've pulled the trigger in the field, lives have been at stake. The scale is different here, but the principle is the same. I'm ready." Dr. Rodriguez leaned forward, her expression serious. "It's not just about the shooting, Major. The psychological pressure will be immense, and we have no idea what kind of physiological advantages the Zarkon might have." Sarah nodded, her jaw set with determination. "That's why we'll outthink them, Doctor. Humanity didn't get this far by brute force alone. We adapt, we strategize, we find ways to overcome. Whatever advantages they have, we'll find a way to counter them." Her words seemed to reassure the team. As the meeting concluded, there was a palpable sense of hope in the room. They had their champion. Now it was time to prepare her for the challenge of a lifetime. As Sarah began her specialized training regimen, news of her selection spread across the globe. She became a symbol of humanity's determination and resilience. People from all walks of life sent messages of support, their hopes riding on her steady hands and keen eyes. But even as humanity rallied behind their champion, the Zarkon were making their own preparations. Rumors spread of their chosen warrior, a being engineered for perfection, with reflexes faster than the human eye could follow and senses beyond human comprehension. In orbit above Earth, Emperor Zornthar watched the blue planet with cold calculation. "These humans are more resourceful than we anticipated," he mused to his advisors. "But their primitive skills will be no match for Zarakon's superiority. Soon, they will learn their place in our empire." Back on Earth, unaware of the Emperor's confidence, Sarah Chen stood at the firing range, her breath steady as she lined up another impossible shot. The fate of humanity rested on her shoulders, but in that moment, all that existed was the rifle in her hands and the target in her sights. As she squeezed the trigger, the crack of the shot echoed across the range. The target, A holographic projection smaller than a pinhead and oscillating wildly exploded in a burst of light. Another perfect hit. Sarah lowered her rifle, allowing herself a small smile. The Zarkon might have advanced technology and engineered biology on their side, but they were about to learn a crucial lesson. Never underestimate the tenacity, creativity, and adaptability of the human spirit. As the day of the contest drew nearer, both humanity and the Zarkon made their final preparations. The stage was set for a showdown that would determine the fate of Earth and potentially reshape the power dynamics of the galaxy. The challenge was no longer just a contest of marksmanship. It had become a testament to the indomitable human spirit, a chance to prove that even against overwhelming odds, humanity would not go quietly into the night. Continue. Certainly. I'll continue with Part 3 of the story. Part 3. The Chosen Champion. The Montana wilderness stretched out before Major Sarah Chen as she lay prone on a rocky outcropping, her customized rifle an extension of her body. Through the scope, she tracked the movement of a tiny drone weaving unpredictably through the trees over a mile away. Target acquired, she murmured into her comm. Awaiting wind data. Dr. Rodriguez's voice crackled in her ear. Crosswind at 15 knots, gusting to 20. Barometric pressure dropping, adjusting for Coriolis effect now. Sarah processed the information, making minute adjustments to her aim. The drone, no larger than a hummingbird, darted erratically. She took a deep breath, held it, and gently squeezed the trigger. The crack of the shot echoed across the valley. A moment later, the drone exploded in a tiny fireball. Direct hit, General Lee's voice confirmed. Impressive as always, Major. Sarah allowed herself a small smile as she rose, brushing pine needles from her camouflage suit. Thank you, ma'am, but we can do better. Let's run it again with stronger wind variables. As Sarah made her way back to the makeshift base camp, she reflected on the whirlwind of the past month. Since being chosen as Earth's champion, her life had become an intense regimen of training, strategic planning, and technological integration. The rifle she carried was a marvel of human engineering, a quantum-stabilized barrel for unparalleled accuracy, a smart scope that could calculate and adjust for a myriad of environmental factors, and ammunition that could alter its trajectory mid-flight. It was humanity's finest achievement in ballistics, created specifically for this contest. At the base camp, Sarah was greeted by her core team, General Lee, Dr. Rodriguez, and Aiden Curry, who had transitioned from diplomat to strategic advisor for the mission. Excellent work out there, Sarah, Aiden said, handing her a bottle of water. But we've got some new intel on the Zarkon champion that you need to hear. Inside the command tent, holographic displays flickered to life, showing various simulations and data streams. Dr. Rodriguez took the lead, her expression grave. We've managed to intercept some Zarkon communications, she began. Their champion, designated as Apex 117, is, well, frankly, it's beyond anything we anticipated. The hologram shifted, displaying a figure that was vaguely humanoid, but clearly alien. Its limbs were unnaturally long, its head adorned with sensor arrays that looked like a crown of thorns. From what we can gather, Dr. Rodriguez continued, Apex 117 is a bioengineered being, created specifically for precision tasks. Its neural pathways are optimized for rapid information processing, and its sensory capabilities far exceed human limits. Sarah studied the image, her mind already working on strategies. What about its weapon? Any intel on that? General Lee stepped forward. Nothing concrete, but our analysts believe it will be energy-based rather than projectile, possibly some form of directed particle beam. Which means no recoil, no bullet drop, and potentially instantaneous target acquisition, Sarah mused. We'll need to counteract those advantages somehow. Aiden nodded, pulling up another set of data. We've been analyzing Zarkon psychology and culture. They value perfection and view any form of adaptation during a contest as a sign of weakness. We might be able to use that against them. As the team delved deeper into strategy and counter-strategy, Sarah felt the weight of responsibility settling more firmly on her shoulders. She wasn't just representing herself or even her country, she carried the hopes and fears of every human on Earth. The days that followed were a blur of intense training and preparation. Sarah pushed herself to the absolute limits of human capability, honing her skills in every conceivable scenario. She practiced in scorching heat and freezing cold, in howling winds and perfect calm. She took shots while hanging upside down, while submerged in water, even while the ground shook in simulated earthquakes. But it wasn't just physical training. Sarah spent hours in virtual reality simulations, facing off against AI opponents that mimicked the supposed capabilities of the Zarkon champion. She studied xenobiology, trying to understand the potential weaknesses in Zarkon physiology. She even delved into game theory and psychology, preparing for the mental battle that would undoubtedly accompany the physical contest. One evening, as the sun set behind the Montana mountains, Sarah found a moment of quiet. She sat on a cliff edge, looking out over the vast wilderness, her rifle laid across her lap. Aiden approached quietly, sitting down beside her. For a while, they sat in companionable silence, watching the sky turn from gold to deep blue. "How are you holding up?" Aiden finally asked, his voice soft. Sarah took a deep breath, considering her answer. "I'm ready," she said finally. "As ready as I can be, at least. But I can't help thinking about what happens if I fail. All those people, all of humanity, counting on me. If I miss." Aiden placed a hand on her shoulder. "Sarah, listen to me. You were chosen not just because you're the best shot on the planet, but because you embody the best of humanity. Our resilience, our adaptability, our unwillingness to give up even when the odds are stacked against us. Whatever happens up there, Earth couldn't ask for a better champion." Sarah nodded, feeling a renewed sense of determination. "You're right. Whatever the Zarkon throw at us, we'll find a way. Humanity always has." As night fell, they made their way back to the camp. The next day would be their last on Earth before departing for the neutral planet where the contest would be held. As Sarah laid down to sleep, her mind was clear, her resolve unshakable. In orbit above Earth, the Zarkon battle cruiser hummed with activity. Emperor Zornthar stood before a view screen, watching recordings of Sarah's training sessions. Impressive for a primitive, he mused, but no match for Apex Sq 117. Soon, Earth will be ours, and the humans will learn the price of defiance. Little did the Emperor know, but his certainty of victory might just prove to be the Zarkon's greatest weakness. As both sides made their final preparations, the stage was set for a contest that would echo across the stars, a duel that would determine the fate of humanity and potentially reshape the balance of power in the galaxy. The journey to destiny was about to begin, and Sarah Chen, Earth's chosen champion, was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The pre-dawn air was crisp as Sarah Chen stepped onto the tarmac of a remote airfield in the Nevada desert. A sleek spacecraft, a testament to humanity's accelerated technological development in response to the Zarkon threat, stood ready for launch. Its smooth lines and dark carbon fiber hull seemed to absorb the first rays of sunrise. Sarah's team flanked her, General Lee, Dr. Rodriguez, and Aiden Corey. Each carried expressions of determined focus, the weight of their mission evident in their eyes. "This is it," General Lee said, her voice steady despite the gravity of the moment. "The fate of our species rests on this journey." Sarah nodded, hefting her custom rifle case. "We're as ready as we'll ever be. Whatever happens, Earth won't go down without a fight." As they boarded the craft, Sarah caught a glimpse of the pilot, Captain Yuki Tanaka, one of Earth's most skilled aerospace engineers turned test pilot. Yuki gave a confident nod as the team strapped in. "All right, folks," Yuki's voice came through the intercom. Our destination is Nexus Station, in orbit around the neutral planet Kepler 186 F. Journey time. Approximately 72 hours thanks to our new fold space drive. It's gonna be one hell of a ride. The engines hummed to life, a deep vibration that Sarah felt in her bones. As the spacecraft lifted off, accelerating rapidly into the atmosphere, she closed her eyes, mentally reviewing her training and strategies. The journey through space was a blur of briefings, last-minute training in zero-G environments, and tense anticipation. Sarah spent hours in the ship's small firing range, a holographic chamber that could simulate various gravitational conditions. On the second day of their journey, as Sarah was adjusting the quantum stabilizers on her rifle, Aiden approached her with a concerned expression. "We've received some new intel," he said, his voice low. "The Zarkon have been busy. They've apparently upgraded their champion even further." Sarah raised an eyebrow. "How so?" Aiden pulled up a holographic display. "Our spies report that Apex SQ 117 has undergone some kind of neural enhancement. They're calling it predictive targeting. It can apparently calculate where a target will be moments before it gets there." Sarah whistled low. "That's impressive. And concerning. Any ideas on how to counter it?" Dr. Rodriguez, who had overheard the conversation, joined them. "I might have something. It's experimental, but it could give us an edge." She produced a small device, no larger than a coin. "This is a quantum fluctuator. It creates random variations in the local space-time field. In theory, it could disrupt the Zarkon's predictive algorithms." Sarah nodded slowly, her mind already working on how to incorporate this new element into her strategy. "It's a risk, but at this point we need every advantage we can get." As they approached Nexus Station, tension aboard the ship ratcheted up. Through the viewports, they could see the massive structure, a sprawling space station that served as neutral ground for various galactic civilizations. Captain Yuki's voice came over the intercom, initiating docking procedures, brace for artificial gravity shift. With a series of gentle thuds and hisses, their ship connected to Nexus Station. As the airlock cycled, Sarah took a deep breath, steeling herself for what was to come. The team stepped into a bustling concourse, a riot of alien life forms and architecture unlike anything they had ever seen. Towering crystalline beings glided past diminutive, multi-limbed creatures. The air was filled with a cacophony of different atmospheric compositions, kept separate by invisible force fields. An official-looking alien, vaguely humanoid but with blue, phosphorescent skin, approached them. "Welcome, representatives of Earth," it said, its voice a melodious trill. "I am Zix, your liaison for the duration of your stay. The contest will commence in 48 standard hours. Until then, you are free to use the station's facilities for your final preparations." As Zix led them to their quarters, Sarah couldn't help but notice the looks they were receiving from other alien species. Some seemed curious, others dismissive, and a few, worryingly, appeared almost pitying. In their assigned area, a spacious suite with views of the swirling gases of Kepler 186 F below, the team gathered for a final strategy session. General Lee pulled up a holographic display of the contest arena. The field of play is larger than we anticipated. Multiple terrains, varying gravitational fields, and apparently some kind of atmospheric distortion zones. Dr. Rodriguez nodded. "I've been analyzing the data. The Zarkon clearly designed this to showcase their champion's adaptability. But remember, adaptability is our strength too." Aiden, who had been quiet since their arrival, spoke up. "There's something else we need to consider. I've been talking to some of the other species here. Apparently, we're not the first civilization the Zarkon have challenged like this. They've done this before multiple times." A heavy silence fell over the room. Sarah broke it, her voice determined. "Then we'll be the first to beat them at their own game." As the others continued to discuss strategy, Sarah excused herself, needing a moment alone. She found her way to an observation deck, staring out at the alien stars. The enormity of her task crashed over her. She wasn't just fighting for Earth anymore. She was fighting for every species that had fallen to the Zarkon's expansionist ambitions. The fate of countless worlds rested on her shoulders. A soft chime interrupted her thoughts. Turning, she saw a small, avian-like creature watching her with large, intelligent eyes. "You are the human champion," it stated, its beak clicking as it formed the words. Sarah nodded. "I am." The creature's head tilted. "Many believe your species does not stand a chance. The Zarkon are powerful, their technology beyond your comprehension." Sarah felt a flare of defiance. "They may have advanced tech, but they don't have our spirit. Humanity doesn't give up, even when the odds are impossible." The creature made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Impossible odds. Yes, that is what they all said. But perhaps that spirit of yours will make a difference." As the alien glided away, Sarah felt a renewed sense of purpose. They weren't just fighting for Earth now. They were fighting to break the Zarkon's hold on the galaxy, to show every species watching that even the most dominant empire could be challenged. Returning to their quarters, Sarah found her team still deep in discussion. She cleared her throat, drawing their attention. "Listen up," she said, her voice ringing with authority. "I know the odds are stacked against us. I know the Zarkon have every advantage, but that's nothing new for humanity. We've always been underdogs, always faced impossible challenges, and you know what? We've always found a way to overcome." She looked each of them in the eye, seeing her own determination reflected back. "We're not just fighting for Earth anymore. We're fighting for every species that's ever been bullied or subjugated by the Zarkon. We're fighting to show the galaxy that strength isn't just about technology or biological engineering. It's about heart, about never giving up, about finding solutions where none seem to exist." Her words seemed to energize the team. As they dove back into their preparations with renewed vigor, Sarah felt a calm settle over her. Whatever the Zarkon threw at her, she would face it. Not just for Earth, but for the future of the galaxy. As the hours ticked down to the contest, tensions on Nexus Station rose. The Zarkon delegation arrived, their massive warship dwarfing the human vessel. Apex SQ-117, their champion, was glimpsed only briefly, a towering figure of sleek biomechanical perfection. But Sarah Chen, Earth's champion, stood ready. In her hands, she held not just a rifle, but the hopes and dreams of her entire species and potentially the fate of the galaxy. The stage was set. The galaxy watched with bated breath. The contest that would determine the future was about to begin. The air in the preparation chamber hummed with tension as Sarah Chen made her final equipment checks. Her custom rifle, a marvel of human engineering, lay before her on a sterile white table. Every component was scrutinized, every setting double-checked. Dr. Rodriguez stood nearby, monitoring a holographic display of Sarah's vital signs. "Your heart rate is elevated, but within acceptable parameters," she reported. "Neurological responses are optimal." Sarah nodded, taking a deep breath to center herself. She picked up the quantum fluctuator, their secret weapon against the Zarkon's predictive targeting, and carefully integrated it into her rifle's systems. General Lai entered the room, her face a mask of calm determination. "It's time, Major. The arena is ready." As Sarah stood, hefting her rifle, Aiden approached with a small box. "A last-minute addition," he said, opening it to reveal a small pin in the shape of Earth. "A reminder of what we're fighting for." Sarah smiled, affixing the pin to her combat suit. "As if I could forget." The team made their way through the winding corridors of Nexus Station. Aliens of various species lined the route, watching with a mixture of curiosity and skepticism. Sarah kept her gaze forward, focused on the task ahead. They emerged onto a vast platform overlooking the contest arena. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. The arena was unlike anything she had ever seen, a sprawling landscape that seemed to defy the laws of physics. Sections of terrain floated in midair, connected by shimmering energy bridges. Gravity appeared to shift and warp in different zones, evidenced by debris floating in impossible patterns. Atmospheric distortion fields created pockets of haze and clarity. It was a three-dimensional nightmare of a shooting gallery designed to test the limits of any marksman. Across the arena, Sarah caught her first clear glimpse of her opponent. Apex 117 was a towering figure of biomechanical perfection. Its body seemed to shimmer, as if constantly adapting to its environment. In its hands was a weapon that looked more like a living organism than a rifle. A booming voice echoed across the arena. The announcer, a multi-dimensional being that existed as a swirling vortex of light. Champions of Earth and the Zarkon Empire, you stand before us to determine the fate of your civilizations. The rules are simple. Hit your targets with greater accuracy than your opponent. Adapt to the changing environments. Prove your worth not just as marksmen, but as representatives of your species' potential. Sarah took a deep breath, feeling the weight of billions of lives on her shoulders. Let the contest begin. The first targets materialized, holographic projections scattered across the arena. Sarah's training kicked in immediately. She raised her rifle, the smart scope quickly calculating trajectories and environmental factors. Her first shot rang out, a hypersonic round streaking across the arena to strike a target dead center. Almost simultaneously, a beam of energy from Apex 117's weapon struck another target. The duel had begun in earnest. Sarah moved with practiced efficiency, each step calculated, each shot precise. She leaped from one floating platform to another, adjusting to the shifting gravity with a gymnast's grace. Her rifle sang, a steady rhythm of cracks as round after round found their marks. But Apex 117 was a formidable opponent. Its movements were fluid, almost predatory. Its shots seemed to bend reality, curving around obstacles to strike targets that should have been impossible to hit. As the contest progressed, the challenges intensified. Targets began to move, first slowly, then with increasing speed and unpredictability. The atmospheric distortions grew stronger, creating zones where visibility dropped to near zero. Sarah gritted her teeth, pushing herself to the limit. She utilized every trick, every strategy she had developed. In low-gravity zones, she used the recoil of her rifle to propel herself, turning the weapon into a tool for mobility as well as accuracy. The quantum fluctuator proved its worth, causing just enough unpredictability to throw off Apex 117's predictive targeting. Sarah saw frustration in the alien champion's movements for the first time. Hours passed, feeling like minutes. Both champions were covered in sweat, or in Apex 117's case, a shimmering biochemical coolant. The score remained perilously close, neither able to gain a significant advantage. As they entered the final phase of the contest, the arena transformed once more. The floating platforms began to spin and shift, the gravity fields fluctuated wildly, and the targets became almost microscopic. Sarah felt fatigue setting in, her muscles screaming in protest. But she pushed on, drawing on reserves of strength she didn't know she possessed. Each shot became a battle of will as much as skill. In the observation deck, Earth's team watched with bated breath. "She's pushing herself too hard," Dr. Rodriguez murmured, eyes fixed on Sarah's biometric readouts. General Lee nodded grimly. "She has to. It's all or nothing now." The final moments of the contest were a blur of motion and precision. Sarah moved on instinct, her body and rifle acting as one. She took shots that seemed impossible, defying logic and the laws of physics. And then suddenly, it was over. The arena fell silent. The targets vanished. Sarah lowered her rifle, her breath coming in ragged gasps. Across the field, Apex 117 stood motionless, its biomechanical body pulsing with exertion. The swirling vortex of the announcer expanded, filling the arena with light. "The contest is concluded. The results will be tabulated and verified. Please stand by. Sarah felt a moment of panic. Had she done enough? Had humanity's best efforts measured up against the Zarkon's engineered perfection? The wait seemed to stretch for an eternity. Sarah could hear her heartbeat thundering in her ears. Across the arena, she locked eyes with Apex 117. For a moment, there was a sense of mutual respect, two beings who had pushed themselves to the absolute limit. Finally, the announcer's voice boomed once more. After careful verification, we have a result. The entire arena held its breath. Sarah closed her eyes, silently hoping, praying to whatever cosmic forces might be listening. By a margin of 0.02%, the winner is... By a margin of 0.02%, the winner is the champion of Earth, Sarah Chen. The announcement reverberated through the arena, followed by a moment of stunned silence. Then, chaos erupted. The observation deck exploded with cheers from the Earth team, their jubilant cries echoing across the vast space. Aliens of various species buzzed with excitement, many clearly shocked by the unexpected outcome. Sarah stood motionless for a moment, her mind struggling to process the information. She had done it. Against all odds, against an opponent engineered for perfection, humanity had prevailed. Across the arena, Apex 117 lowered its weapon, its biomechanical body seeming to deflate slightly. The Zarkon delegation was in visible disarray, their previous arrogance replaced by disbelief and anger. As the reality of victory sank in, Sarah felt a wave of emotion wash over her. Relief, pride, and an overwhelming sense of responsibility for what this meant not just for Earth, but for the galaxy at large. She raised her rifle high, a gesture of triumph that was captured and broadcast across countless worlds. The next few hours passed in a blur. Sarah was whisked away for medical checks, debriefings, and a flurry of congratulations from her team and various alien diplomats. Through it all, she remained focused, acutely aware that while a battle had been won, the war was far from over. In a private chamber, away from the prying eyes of the galactic media, Sarah finally had a moment alone with her team. General Lai was the first to speak, her usual stoic demeanor cracking to reveal a proud smile. "Major Chen, you've done the impossible. You've not only saved Earth, but potentially changed the balance of power in the galaxy. The Zarkon Empire's aura of invincibility has been shattered." Dr. Rodriguez nodded enthusiastically. "The data we've collected from your performance is invaluable. Your adaptability, your ability to integrate technology with innate human skills, it's revolutionary." Aiden, who had been uncharacteristically quiet, finally spoke up. "But we can't rest on our laurels. The Zarkon won't take this defeat lightly. We need to be prepared for their response." Sarah nodded, her face serious. "Agreed. This victory buys us time, but it's how we use that time that matters." As they discussed the implications of their victory, a commotion outside drew their attention. The door slid open to reveal Zix, the station liaison, looking flustered. "Apologies for the interruption," Zix trilled, "but we have a situation. Several species previously subjugated by the Zarkon are calling for immediate talks with Earth. They're looking to form alliances." The implications were staggering. Earth, a newcomer to the galactic stage, was suddenly thrust into a position of significant political influence. Over the next few days, as they prepared to return to Earth, Sarah and her team were swept up in a whirlwind of diplomatic meetings. Species that had previously dismissed humanity as primitive now sought partnerships. Technology exchanges were proposed, cultural liaisons established. But amidst the excitement, there was an undercurrent of tension. The Zarkon delegation had retreated to their ship, radio silent. Their absence was like a storm cloud on the horizon, a reminder that this victory, however significant, was just the beginning. On the eve of their departure, Sarah found herself once again on the observation deck, gazing out at the stars. The avian-like alien she had met before approached, its large eyes glimmering with what seemed like admiration. "You have done what many thought impossible," it said, its beak clicking softly. "You have given hope to those who had none." Sarah smiled wryly. "It's a lot to take in. Yesterday, we were just trying to save our own planet. Now, we're at the center of a galactic power shift." The alien made a sound that might have been a chuckle. Such is the nature of the universe. Great change often comes from unexpected places. It paused, its gaze intensifying. "But be warned, human. The Zarkon are wounded, but not defeated. They will not forget this humiliation." Sarah nodded solemnly. "We'll be ready." As they prepared to board their ship for the journey home, Sarah took one last look at Nexus Station. In just a few days, her world had expanded beyond imagination. The challenges ahead were daunting, but for the first time since the Zarkon had appeared in Earth's skies, there was hope. The journey back to Earth was filled with planning and preparation. They knew that the reception waiting for them would be unlike anything in human history. But more importantly, they had to prepare Earth for its new role in the galactic community. As their ship approached Earth, Sarah gazed out at the blue marble that was her home. It looked both familiar and strangely new, as if she was seeing it through the eyes of the galaxy. "What do you think will happen now?" Aiden asked, joining her at the viewport. Sarah considered for a moment. I think we've been given a chance. A chance to show the galaxy what humanity is truly capable of. Not just in marksmanship or adaptability, but in creativity, in compassion, in our ability to unite in the face of overwhelming odds." She turned to face her team, her expression determined. "The Zarkon thought they could subjugate us, make us just another conquered species. Instead, we've sparked a revolution. It won't be easy. The Zarkon will retaliate, other powers will try to manipulate us, and we'll face challenges we can't even imagine yet." General Lee nodded. "But we'll face them together, not just as a planet, but with our new allies across the stars." As Earth grew larger in their viewport, Sarah felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. The future was uncertain, filled with both promise and peril. But one thing was clear: humanity's place in the universe had forever changed. The ship began its descent, streaking across the sky like a new star being born. On the surface, billions of humans watched, their hearts swelling with pride and hope. Their champion was returning, bearing not just victory, but the dawn of a new era for Earth and the galaxy beyond. As they touched down, Sarah took a deep breath, readying herself to step out into a world forever changed. The door of the spacecraft opened, revealing a sea of cheering faces. Sarah Chen, the woman who had saved Earth and shaken the foundations of the Galactic Empire, stepped forward into humanity's bold new future. The story of Earth's rise had only just begun, and the stars themselves seemed to shine a little brighter in anticipation of what was to come.